You've got a problem at work. Maybe it's tracking equipment, managing requests, or just replacing that messy spreadsheet everyone hates. The obvious fix is a simple app, but hiring a developer takes months, so you sit on it. That's where Power Apps comes in. It's Microsoft's tool for building apps without writing code from scratch. By the end of this episode, you'll understand what Power Apps actually is, the two main types of apps, how AI is changing everything in 2026, and whether it's even right for you. Plain English, no marketing fluff, just the facts. What Power Apps actually is. So what is Power Apps really? It's part of a bigger family called the Microsoft Power Platform. Think of the Power Platform as a workshop with different tools for different jobs. Power Automate handles automation. Things like sending emails when something changes. Power BI is for analytics and dashboards. Power Pages lets you build external websites for customers. And Power Apps, that's the tool for building custom business apps. Here's the simplest definition. You design a user interface with buttons, text boxes and images, connect it to your data, and define how it all works together. And you do all of this without writing traditional code. You're not typing out JavaScript or C or anything like that. You're pointing, clicking, dragging, and dropping. The formula bar looks a lot like Excel functions, so if you've ever written a formula in a spreadsheet, you're already halfway there. But here's where the real power lies. The apps you build can tap directly into Microsoft 365. SharePoint lists, Teams channels, Outlook contacts, OneDrive files, all of it connects. And it's not just Microsoft stuff. There are hundreds of connectors for things like Salesforce, SQL databases, and even Google services. So your app isn't sitting in a silo, it's pulling data from wherever your business already keeps it. Let's make this real. Imagine a sales team that needs a quick expense tracker. The old way, someone files a ticket with IT, waits weeks, maybe months, for a developer to build something. The Power Apps way, someone on the sales team opens Power Apps, connects to an Excel sheet in OneDrive, and within minutes they have a working app. They can submit expenses, attach receipts, and track approvals all from their phone. No developer needed. Now, I said you don't need to be a programmer, and that's true, but it helps to understand the basics. Power Apps is what the industry calls a low-code platform. Low code means you're writing less code, not zero code. You might still type some formulas, but they're simple. Things like filter this list to show only items from today or add up these numbers. If you can use Excel, you can use Power Apps. The real value isn't any single feature, it's the integration. Your app lives inside Teams, pulls data from SharePoint, sends notifications through Outlook, and uses the same security that protects your email. That integration is what makes Power Apps different from a random app builder you find online. It's built for the Microsoft world, and that world is where most businesses already live. Canvas apps versus model-driven apps. So not all Power Apps are the same. There are two main types, and they serve very different purposes. Knowing the difference is what helps you pick the right app for the job. First up, Canvas apps. You start with a completely blank screen, then you drag and drop buttons, text boxes, images, drop-downs, whatever you need onto that canvas. You have total control over where everything goes, what colors to use, what fonts, what spacing. Nothing happens automatically. Imagine you're designing a custom poster. You pick exactly where the title sits, which picture goes in the corner, how big the text is. You're the designer. That kind of flexibility is great when you need a specific look or a unique experience. Canvas apps work best for simple interfaces, custom forms, dashboards, and apps built for specific tasks. Think inspection checklists for a warehouse, quick approval forms for time off requests, or a mobile app for tracking deliveries. If you can picture it, you can build it. But that freedom comes with a trade-off. Because you control every pixel, Canvas apps can struggle when you're working with large amounts of data. Thousands of records with complex relationships between them. A Canvas app can get slow or messy. That's when you want the second type. Model-driven apps work differently. Instead of a blank canvas, you start with your data. You define tables and relationships, basically database tables, and the app builds its own interface around that structure. Layout becomes automatic. You get standard views, forms, and navigation based on the data you defined. You don't drag buttons. You tell the app what data to show, and it figures out the interface for you. A model-driven app is like a filing system. You organize the folders and the labels, and the cabinet arranges everything neatly. You're not designing the cabinet, you're designing what goes inside it. Model-driven apps are best for complex data management, internal admin tools, and apps with lots of records and relationships. Things like a customer management system, a project tracking database, or an HR portal that links employee records, departments, and job histories together. So which one do you use? Here's a simple way to decide. Choose Canvas apps when the look and feel matters more, when you need to control every pixel. Choose model-driven apps when handling lots of data and complex relationships is more important than visual design. And here's the thing, you're not stuck picking one forever. A single solution can include both types. You might have a model-driven app for back-end data management and a Canvas app for mobile field workers. They share the same data and work together seamlessly. That's the real power of this platform. You mix and match based on what each person actually needs. The data foundation, Dataverse and connectors. Every app needs data. Without it, you just have a pretty screen with nothing to do. Power Apps can connect to almost anything you throw at it. But the way you connect matters, and one option stands out above the rest. That option is Dataverse. It's Microsoft's cloud database built right into the Power Platform. Think of it as a smart storage system. Data lives in tables, kind of like Excel sheets, but much smarter. Each table has columns, rows, relationships, and rules. You can say things like, every expense must belong to a department, or a customer can have multiple orders. Dataverse understands those relationships and enforces them automatically. It also handles security at the row level. One person sees only their own records while a manager sees everything. That's built in, not something you code from scratch. Dataverse works hand in hand with model-driven apps. In fact, model-driven apps require it. If you're building a model-driven app, Dataverse is your only option for the main data store. And that's by design. The two were built for each other. Dataverse gives model-driven apps the structure they need to generate those automatic forms and views automatically. But you're not locked into Dataverse, not even close. Power Apps has over 300 connectors. That's 300 different ways to plug into existing data. SharePoint lists, Excel files on OneDrive, SQL databases, Salesforce, Google Drive, Dropbox, even old-school systems like Oracle and SAP. If your data lives somewhere, there's probably a connector for it. Here's where the choice matters. Canvas apps can use any connector you want. You can build a Canvas app that pulls from a SharePoint list, writes to an Excel file, and pulls in customer data from Salesforce all at once. Model-driven apps, on the other hand, require Dataverse for their core tables. They can still reference external data through virtual tables, but the primary store has to be Dataverse. Let's make this practical. Say you're a small team with a SharePoint list tracking equipment checkouts. You don't need Dataverse yet. Open Power Apps, connect to that list, and build a simple Canvas app in minutes. It works, it's fast, and it costs nothing extra because you already have SharePoint. But as your team grows, you start needing more. You want to track who has what, when it's due back, which department owns it. The SharePoint list gets messy fast. Relationships get confusing. That's when you migrate to Dataverse, move the data over, rebuild your app on top of it, and suddenly everything is cleaner, faster, and more secure. The key takeaway is simple. You do not need to be a database expert to use Power Apps. The platform handles the complexity behind the scenes. Connect to a SharePoint list and Power Apps figures out the columns and data types automatically. Build on Dataverse and it creates tables and relationships as you go. You're not writing SQL queries or designing schemas. You're pointing at your data and saying, use this. Everything else just works. The ecosystem, where Power Apps lives. Power Apps isn't a standalone tool. It's part of the Microsoft 365 family, and that's its biggest advantage. The apps you build live right where your people already work. You build everything at Make. PowerApps.com, that's the central hub. Once you publish an app, users can get to it a few different ways. From a browser, just like any website, from the Power Apps mobile app on their phone, or embedded directly inside Microsoft Teams. And that last way, inside Teams, is what makes it powerful. Your team doesn't have to switch tools. They open Teams, click a tab, and your app is right there next to their chats and meetings. Sharing an app is straightforward. You invite people by email the same way you'd share a document in SharePoint. You can add the app to a Teams channel tab with a few clicks, or embed it on a SharePoint page using a simple web part. No complex deployment, no installers, no app stores to submit to. You build it, you share it, and people just use it. Security is one area where Power Apps stands out from other no-code tools. It uses Microsoft Entra ID for access control, the same system that protects your email, your files, and your teams. Think of Entra ID as the reception desk that checks who you are before letting you into the building. When someone opens your app, Entra ID verifies their identity. Are they who they say they are? Do they have permission? Yes means they get in. No means they don't. What this means, you don't need to manage separate logins or passwords. Your users don't need to create new accounts. They use their existing work identity, the same one they use for Outlook and SharePoint. That's it. And because everything is connected, you can control access at a granular level. This person can view records but not edit them. That person can approve expenses but not create them. All managed through the same system your IT team already knows. For IT administrators, the Power Platform Admin Center serves as the control room. From here, admins can create separate environments for development, testing, and production. You don't build your app directly in the live production environment. You build in dev, test in test, and only push to prod when everything works. Admins can also enforce data loss prevention policies, blocking certain connectors from being used together. For example, you might want to prevent an app from copying data from your internal database to a public cloud service. That kind of block takes just a few clicks in the admin center. For beginners, here's the good news. You can start in a free trial environment that's completely separate from your organization's production systems. Nothing you build will accidentally break anything important. You can experiment, make mistakes, delete things, start over. When you're ready, you move your app to a proper environment with all the security and governance in place. So Power Apps is not a standalone tool. It's part of a connected platform. Your app uses the same identity system as your email. It lives inside the same tools your team already uses. It follows the same security rules your IT team already enforces. That integration is what makes it different, and that's what makes it powerful. Building your first app, no code required. The fastest way to understand Power Apps is to build something simple. Not write about it, not watch someone else do it. Actually build it yourself. And you can go from zero to a working app in under 10 minutes. There are two common starting points, an Excel file or a SharePoint list. Both work the same way. You pick your data source, click Create App, and Power Apps generates a 3-screen app automatically. A browse screen where you see all your records, a detail screen where you view one record at a time, and an edit screen where you add or change information. 3 screens generated in seconds, ready to run. Here's what that looks like in practice. Say you're a manager with a team roster in Excel. You open the file, make sure your data is formatted as a table. That's important. Power Apps needs a table, not just a range of cells. You save it to OneDrive, then you go to Make. PowerApps.com, choose Start from Excel, find your file, and click Connect. Power Apps reads the table structure, identifies the columns, and builds your 3-screen app. You hit play, and suddenly that spreadsheet is a mobile-friendly app. You can scroll through your team, tap a name to see details, edit assignments, add new people, all from your phone, all without writing a single line of code. You can run it immediately, and you can customize it too. Change the colors to match your company brand, add a button that sends an email, rearrange the fields so the most important information appears first. The formula bar at the top of the screen looks a lot like Excel functions. If you've ever written is or sum A1, A10 in a spreadsheet, you already understand the basics. The syntax is similar, the logic is the same. Power Apps calls it PowerFX, and it's designed to feel familiar to anyone who's used Excel. Let me give you a real example. I know a manager who had a team roster in Excel with names, departments, certifications, and expiration dates. Every week, someone had to manually check which certifications were expiring soon. It was tedious and error-prone. They converted the spreadsheet to a table, connected it to Power Apps, and within 10 minutes had an app that showed only the people with expiring certifications. No more manual checking, no more missed renewals. 10 minutes, that's the low-code idea right there. You're not writing thousands of lines of code. You're not learning a programming language. You're pointing at your data, clicking a button, and getting a working app. The platform handles the heavy lifting. You handle the business logic. And the best part, if you change your mind later, you can. Add a new field, change the layout, connect to a different data source. It's all point and click. AI takes over. Copilot in Power Apps. So here's where it gets really interesting. In 2026, Microsoft brought huge AI changes to Power Apps. Copilot is now built directly into the platform, not as an add-on or a separate tool you have to enable. It's right there inside the app builder, ready to help. In the past, building an app meant dragging controls onto a canvas, configuring properties, and writing formulas. Copilot changes that. Now, inside the app builder, you describe what you want in natural language, like create an expense tracking app with categories, approval workflows, and a dashboard showing monthly totals. And Copilot generates the app structure, tables, screens, and navigation. You don't design the interface, you describe the outcome, and Copilot builds it. But it goes further than just building apps. Inside running apps, Copilot understands the data context, what data you're looking at, what fields exist, and how they connect. So instead of clicking through views and filtering columns, you can ask questions conversationally. Say, show me overdue projects. Copilot understands that overdue means beyond the deadline and filters the data instantly. No column hunting or custom views required. Copilot can also summarize records. Imagine opening a customer record and seeing a 1-paragraph summary at the top. Who they are, what they've ordered recently, whether there are any open issues. Copilot generates that summary automatically by reading the data. Instead of scrolling through dozens of fields, the important information is right there. It can generate charts too. Just say, visualize this data by risk level, and a chart appears instantly, ready for your next meeting. With the 2026 Wave 1 release, Copilot became generally available in model-driven apps, no longer a preview, but production-ready. It also introduced autonomous agents, AI-powered helpers that handle routine tasks automatically. For example, scheduling project review meetings when all approvals are complete. The agent checks calendars across the team, finds a common time slot, creates the meeting, and attaches the relevant context. If there's a conflict it can't resolve, it escalates to a human. The agent doesn't replace people. It handles the tedious coordination so people can focus on decisions. Here's a concrete example from Microsoft's own demo. A finance manager opens a project review app and asks, has anyone flagged concerns about the platform modernization timeline in recent emails or meetings? Copilot searches across the user's work, emails, Teams messages, meeting notes, and surfaces a thread from last week where an engineering lead mentioned a dependency that could push the delivery window. That context, which lives outside the app entirely, is now right there alongside the data. No manual searching or switching tools, just the answer. For beginners, this is huge. You don't need to learn complex formulas or understand database queries. Just describe what you want in plain English, and the AI handles the technical work. The formula bar is still there if you want to fine-tune things, but for most people, most of the time, asking in plain English is enough. Beyond Copilot, Claude Code and External AI. Copilot isn't the only AI game in town. Microsoft has embraced third-party tools, and the biggest news in 2026 is that Claude Code from Anthropic is now supported for Power Apps development. Here's how it works. Instead of using the visual designer inside Power Apps Studio, you open a terminal and type something like Generate Canvas App, followed by a description of what you need. Claude Code creates a APA YAML file, the format Power Apps uses behind the scenes, and pushes it directly into your environment. You don't drag a single button or configure a single property, you just describe the app and the AI builds it. This goes way beyond simple apps. Claude Code can write complex Power FX formulas that would take a human developer hours to figure out, create generative pages, custom React-based components inside model-driven apps, and handle multi-file reasoning, understanding how different parts of your app connect and making changes across multiple files at once. Let me give you a real-world example. Say you have a project dashboard with a Gantt chart. You want to add interactive hover cards, so when someone hovers over a task, they see budget details, risk level, and upcoming milestones. In the old world, that's a development project that requires a front-end developer who knows React and TypeScript. With Claude Code, you type add hover cards with budget and risk level. The AI analyzes your existing code, proposes a plan, generates the enhancement, and pushes it live. You review, approve, and deploy, minutes instead of days. Now, I have to give you the caveat. These features are still in preview as of mid-2026. They're powerful, and early adopters report significant productivity gains, but Microsoft explicitly says they're not yet recommended for production-critical apps. The generated code should be reviewed for security, accessibility, and compliance. The AI makes a best effort, but you're still responsible for what gets deployed. The bigger trend is this: the line between low-code and pro-code is blurring fast. In the past, you chose a path. Low-code meant drag and drop with limited flexibility but fast results, while pro-code meant full control but slow and expensive. AI is erasing that distinction. You describe what you need in plain English, the AI generates the technical work, and you focus on the business problem. Whether you call yourself a citizen developer or a professional developer, the workflow is starting to look the same. When should you use Power Apps? So when should you actually use Power Apps? It's powerful, but it's not the right tool for everything. Like any tool, it has specific strengths, and knowing when to pick it up is just as important as knowing how to use it. Power Apps really works best for internal business apps. Think forms, approvals, data entry, and process tracking for your employees. If your users are inside your organization and need to view, create, or update data, Power Apps is probably your answer. The sweet spot: small to medium complexity apps that would take weeks with traditional development but can be done in hours or days here. On the other hand, skip Power Apps for public-facing websites. If customers or partners need access from outside your organization, use Power Pages instead. That's what it's built for. Real-time apps with sub-second performance? Not the best fit. Custom high-performance graphics or complex animations? Probably not. Power Apps is a business tool, not a game engine. Let's compare with alternatives. There are no-code tools like Lovable that build stunning external websites in minutes. They look great and they're fast, but they lack what makes Power Apps special: Microsoft's data security, the ecosystem integration with Teams, SharePoint, and Outlook, plus the identity management through Entra ID. If your data lives inside Microsoft 365 and you need tight security, Power Apps wins every time. If you're building a customer-facing website where design matters more than security integration, Lovable might be the better choice. Here's my final thought. You don't need to be a programmer to use Power Apps, but understanding basic data structures helps a lot. Things like tables, relationships, and what a primary key is. You don't need to be a database administrator, but the more you understand how data works, the better your apps will be. Think of it like driving a car. You don't need to be a mechanic, but knowing what the dashboard lights mean makes you a better driver. Your next step is simple. Sign up for a free Power Apps trial and pick a small problem you actually have at work. Maybe it's tracking equipment, managing vacation requests, or replacing that spreadsheet you update every Friday. Build your first app. It doesn't have to be perfect, just functional. You'll learn more in 30 minutes of building than in 3 hours of watching tutorials. So that's Power Apps in 2026. It's Microsoft's low-code platform for building custom business apps. Canvas apps give you flexible design control, and model-driven apps handle complex data management. Both connect to hundreds of data sources, work inside Teams and SharePoint, and now include AI that writes apps for you. The real power isn't any single feature, as it's the integration. Your app lives where your people already work. Subscribe for more plain English breakdowns of Microsoft tools, and drop a comment with what you'd like explained next.